All right, so let's go ahead and get started. So we're going to be using a online app. It's actually a website called SkyVector.com, and this is an electronic version of all of the aeronautical charts that are available to us here in the United States. Actually, more than the United States, but we're going to be just specifically talking about the U.S. Now, throughout the course, I'm also going to be using abbreviations, acronyms, things that the FAA likes to use. And when we do that, we'll be putting those acronyms and descriptions, definitions, etc., on the screen for you to memorize and to kind of get put in the memory bank. We'll also have a full printed list available in our information section throughout the course. So you can always refer back to those if you forget something, you don't want to go back and watch something. Now, one of the things that I want to go over on the sectional chart is what exactly is a sectional chart? Well, first of all, it's a navigation chart. It's usually a paper chart that is of a particular section of, in our case, the United States. Now, what SkyVector has done is something really neat here. So what they have done is actually electronically stored all of the aviation maps and actually merged them all together so that we can see them at any time. Now, what's nice about this is you don't have to go out and buy a chart, first of all. If you do want to buy a chart, you can get those at aviation stores, online, at flight schools, etc. They run anywhere from $7 to $10, $12, somewhere in that price range, depending on where you buy them. Now, one thing to keep in mind as well with sectionals is they do have a expiration date. They're typically put out in, a 3-month time frame, and they're printed on the chart. We'll show you that here in a second. And they do expire. So here's a breakdown of a particular chart. This happens to be the St. Louis chart. And if we zoom in here on the cover, and this again would be paper and it would be folded up, you'll notice here that this particular chart is valid from the 23rd of June, 2016, and in this case, all the way through December 8th. Now, the reason they do that is because things change on charts. Airports close, airports open, runway lengths change, antennas get installed, airway, there's all kinds of things that can change. So it's important that you, when you're flying a full-size aircraft, that you have an up-to-date chart. And luckily enough for us flying UAS, SkyVector keeps these charts up to date on their website. Now let's talk about how we get to the area that we're flying. For us, we're out in the Midwest, and we're going to use an airport for a reference point of O'Hare Airport. And the ICAO, which is also known as the International Civil Aviation Organization, they're the organization that actually creates a lot of things, but primarily when we talk about ICAO names, we're talking about those 3 or 4 letter digits that pertain to a particular airport. All airports in the United States, in the lower 48, I should say, so we're going to exclude Hawaii and Alaska. So if you're in the lower 48 states, all airports will start with the letter K, as in kilo, followed by a 3-letter designator for their particular airport. So you notice up here in the upper left-hand corner, I've put in KORD, and that is the designator for O'Hare Airport. Now, another thing you're going to notice with our chart here is that right in the center there's a little crosshair. If I move that around, you'll notice that the chart moves, but the crosshair stays right in the middle of the page. That's this guy right here. Now, you can also use your mouse and zoom in or out. And why that crosshair is important for us when we're using this electronic version is a couple things. Wherever you put that crosshair, you're actually going to get the lat and long right here, which is kind of nice. So if you're trying to plan a flight somewhere, you can put that over where you're flying and you've got the lat long there. That's one thing. The other thing is, as we move this around the chart and we put that, again, that little crosshair on a particular area of the chart, SkyVector is smart enough to tell us which sectional chart you see here in the upper right that we're actually dealing with. So if we click on the Cincinnati chart, you'll notice that now we have just the Cincinnati chart, just like it would be if you were to go out and buy one, and you can zoom in on it and move it around and even see the printed cover. Now, one thing to note, when you take your exam, in that supplemental that they're going to give you, you're going to have essentially all these tabs here. You're going to have a cover, a fake cover of a sectional chart, and there's a lot of information that's right in that cover. So if you forget an answer, you forget something that maybe we're going to go over today, you can refer back here and you would be surprised at how many answers are really right here in the legend. Whether that be what a star is or what the frequency is or so on. So don't forget about that legend on your sectional chart when you're taking your test, because there's a lot of great answers in there. So let's go ahead and go back to my area here, the good old Midwest out here in Wisconsin and northern Illinois. And we're going to go ahead and pull in the chart here, and we're going to center it up in the Illinois-Wisconsin area. And you notice here we have a lot of options here, because large areas like Chicago, LAX, New York, there's a lot of air traffic there. And a lot of times we have to break that down into a more detailed aeronautical chart. So in our case, again, we've got the crosshair put right over O'Hare. If I zoom in here on O'Hare, you're going to notice that there is a faint white box around the O'Hare airspace, and it's right here. And you notice the words TAC. So currently we are looking at what's known as a WAC, or a World Aeronautical Chart. But when we zoom in and we get some of these busy areas like Chicago O'Hare, which has a lot of stuff going on, there is also a TAC available. And what SkyVector has been smart enough to do is not only give you the Chicago sectional, but also give you the Chicago TAC chart. So if I click on that, you'll notice that I now have a complete foldable chart, but it's just that Chicago area with a lot more detail. We can see things like antennas and factories and things, because there's a lot of things going on here. And you'll find that in your area, you may find that you have a TAC chart available, and you'll be able to see that by using SkyVector and so on. All right, so let's go ahead and get into the meat and potatoes of what we're talking about here. We're going to go ahead and start looking at a lot of these icons and things that you're going to need to know what they are. First of all the airports on here are typically these small circles, okay? So now we have some large airports here. One thing in the FAA world, this purple color, or some people call it pink, it's actually called magenta, and that is what the FAA calls it. So if you hear a question that says refer to the magenta line or the magenta this, know that they're talking about this pink color here. So what's the main difference between some of these airports here? Well, you're going to notice that airports that have just a circle, okay, these are airports that are something other than paved runways. So this could be a grass strip, this could be a dirt strip, or some other type of runway. Now, the other thing you're going to notice is that a lot of the airports on the chart are either this magenta color, which the majority of them actually are in this area, or we have some blue airports here. We have a blue one here, we have a blue one here, and so on. The difference between magenta and blue is that airport is either a towered airport, which is the blue color, or it's an untowered airport. Okay, now that doesn't mean that there's not airspace around that airport. It just means that there's not a physical tower at the airport. So a UAS tip I would give you is that when you're using a lot of these online apps like, Before You Fly and some of the other ones that give you no-fly zones, be aware that most all of those show every single airport, and you could be parked right here and there might be an airport a mile away that hasn't been used in 10 years. So you need to be able to evaluate, make that decision in the field. Is it really safe to fly, or is this giving me a warning that probably doesn't really pertain to what I'm doing? Obviously, if I'm next to O'Hare, that's a big deal. If I'm out here in the middle of nowhere and some old little restricted or private strip that hasn't been used in 10 years is showing up on my no-fly zone, I probably can safely operate as long as I don't see any aircraft around. So again, blue airports, towered; magenta airports, non-towered. Now, we originally talked about the circle airports, the ones that just have a ring. So again, if it just has a ring, that's an airport that is of other runway type, so it has a grass or a gravel strip, there's no pavement there. And then the airports that have something inside of the circle, like the R, are either a restricted strip or maybe a private strip at somebody's farm, etc. Now, the one other kind of airport that you'll see that you don't we don't see a lot of in the Midwest, but you'll see in the Northwest, is a seaplane base, and that is designated by an anchor. And we can actually show you by going over here again to that legend. And if you see this little guy here, that anchor, that would be a seaplane base. So that's pretty easy to understand. Normally those are going to be next to water, obviously. So those are the main types of airports that we're dealing with. Now we need to break those down a little bit more. So of course we've got controlled or towered airports, which are the blue. These could be the lined blue ones like this one right here. They could be a circle with lines in it that are blue. And then we have the magenta ones that are circles. And there are various types, either filled in, not filled in, and so on. We're going to talk about why they are filled in and why they're not here in just a second. But we want to make sure that you understand that there's several different types of airports, both towered and non-towered. Now let's look at what's the difference between, let's say, this circle here and this circle here. Okay, well, the difference is that this is most likely a hard surface runway, okay, because we have a runway designator inside of the solid circle. This is not solid. The other thing you're going to notice is that the runway orientation typically is oriented the way that it truly is on a sectional chart. So if you were holding a compass and you weren't sure, you may get a question on the test, what is the approximate runway heading of the East Troy Airport? And you see that it's heading this direction, kind of east and west. You could jump over here to something like a VOR that has essentially a compass on it and kind of lay a ruler on there and line it up with the direction, and you'd be pretty close in degrees with what direction that runway is heading. We'll get into that a little bit later when we get into the lat long section and some other information. Now, one thing you notice is that most of these little small airports are just that, they're small. When we get into major airports like these with the double rings and like Chicago with multiple rings, there is a lot of information going on there. And those are particular types of airspace. And in aviation world, we have the following types of airspace. We have Class A, which we're never going to be dealing with as a UAS pilot because that's 18,000 feet and higher. We have Class B or Bravo, which is what an airport like Chicago O'Hare is. One of the ways I always remember that is think of the B as Blueberry or Class B airspace. You can also think of it as busy airspace. Then we have an airport like Milwaukee. That's Class C as in Charlie. You can also think of Cranberry or Class C when you see these big rings. Again, that's actually magenta, but just a way to think of that is Class C. Then we have Class D, which is this particular airport here. This happens to be Kenosha Regional. And you can think of the Class D as a blue dashed line. So D as in dashed line. And then we have Class E and we have Class G. There is no F. So we're going to get into those other two here in just a minute. But if you think of E as everywhere else and G as kind of grandpa area, then we'll cover what those mean here later in the segment. Now let's look at some of the information that we can get from a sectional, because obviously there is a lot of info on there, and if you don't know what all these things are, it can be kind of overwhelming. So for instance, when you are near the airport, you have the airport here. Right next to it or nearby, you will notice that there's an airport name. So this happens to be Kenosha Regional. Here is that three-letter designator. So again, if I put a K in front of that, it would be KENW. We know that it has a control tower. We know that this is the frequency for that. And we also have ATIS, which is the Automated Terminal Information System. And that gives us things like the current weather, cloud cover, what runways they're using. This can be beneficial if you are operating as a commercial operator in or around airspace, because you're going to need to not only know what's going on there, you're going to eventually need to talk to them, and that frequency will give you that information. You're also going to get the approximate elevation of the airport, so in this case, 742 feet. And you're going to get the approximate length of the longest runway, which in this case is 5,500 feet. Okay, and every airport has some other information. This particular one has right-hand traffic on runway 7 right.